I am your host, Leah Dunlap, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and this is Oracle Live, Ask the Oracle. Today, I'm really excited for my next guest. I am excited because she's a business witch. It's true. All right, I know. Now you want to come on over, sit down, grab your cup of whatever, coffee, I don't judge, tea, and let's dive in. As many of you know, if you've been watching this show, we've started this new segment called Ask the Oracle. And the reason I did this is because I know that there are a plethora of people out there in the world who could just use a little nudge to get them back onto the right path or on the right path. And I was inspired by the Oracle to open this segment back up. We did it probably a couple of years ago now, and it was really successful. People really got some great insights. They were able to take that information and rocket off of that to do things in their lives and their businesses that they've been stuck around. So I know that I have a very limited amount of space to work one-on-one with people. In fact, I only literally have 2 spots left to work with me one-on-one in 2021. So this was my answer to that question. How do I reach more people? How do I help more people? How do I get the Oracle insights out of my head and out where they can do some good? So I'm excited again to share my next guest. Her name is Winkler. And as I said, she is known as the Good Business Witch. All right, Megan, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to bring her in so we can say hello and get ready. Megan, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Megan Winkler, and I'm also known as the Good Business Witch. It is my podcast name, but it's really also my approach to work. I am an eclectic divination witch and also a 3-time entrepreneur. And a few years ago, I decided, you know what? They're all going to share the same space. So I bring oracle cards in, I bring my intuition in. I've got a crystal in my hand right now to help me ground and channel my inner higher self and all that. So I'm just excited to be here. And I help amazing women who are building their own businesses to market and sell their offerings in a way that's spiritually centered and authentic.
I love it. I know that there are people right now going, wait, why is a witch asking an oracle question? So I think this is great. And people that are listening right now, I hope you understand that if you have a guide or a coach or a mentor, I hope they have one too. I hope that they are getting support, because I think this is a very important piece that people who, even in my last call that I did, we talked about this amendment, which I want to share with you really quickly, because you brought that to me, which is this idea that those of us who are spiritually minded or gifted or whatever you want to call it, that somehow we have to be able to do this all on our own, and that we don't need or we shouldn't look for assistance or support. And as we were just coming on, I was making my own comment about the fact that that mentality can have us doing things that are completely not ours to do, and it slows down the process. I.e., I have a VA, I love my VA, and I'm over here trying to do the tech piece, and I'm thinking, this is why I'm not the tech person. And so I think it's also true, and I like that you brought that up, that those of us who are talented or gifted, and even just strong, powerful women leaders, we can forget that it's not only okay, right, to ask for help, but it makes us stronger and better at what we do when we ask for help in the things that's not our genius. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if that was your question, because I felt somebody's question out there, like as soon as you said that, I'm like, hopefully we've got to rest. And that leads me to the bigger point of why we're here, which is, tell us, so right now, what I like to kind of start with, because it helps set the tone, is what is your next big project? What's your next big vision for yourself? And how can I help? How can the Oracle help get you closer to making that a reality?
Yeah. Well, I just love that you literally I've already touched on so much of what I have going on in my life. I am obsessed with leadership and women's place in business and making sure there's more room for women in business. And so that's kind of like my big far off dream. But this year, I just launched a new offering called Client Attraction Circles. And it's really based on creating connection through live interaction with your ideal clients. And it's a repeatable format. So it's something it's very simple once it's in place for coaches and advisors and spiritual teachers to put in place to put examples of their work out there. And I'm feeling really good about where that's going.
Great. So the big question is, what is your question for the Oracle that can help with what you're working on now?
I'm just going to tune in and make sure there's nothing else that pops up. It's a rather vague question. I've come to realize that my work might not necessarily reflect my purpose in life. So I would love to know what that purpose is, if there's any guidance there.
Woof. Yeah. No small question. I love it.
I know. Sorry about that.
No, this is great too. I want everybody to know, like, this is why we do this live, because as you were tapping in, I'm tapping into what you're feeling. And I'm going to recalibrate by asking the question back to you, make sure I'm passing it through correctly.
Sure.
Which is for you right now to know, I feel like there's two questions. One is, what is your purpose? And the other might be, are you aligned with it? Like, the work you're doing right now, is it aligned? Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, I think that's the question.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I love it because the Oracle's like, closer. Purpose may be a longer answer than we have in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start with the last part of that question, which is, what you're doing now is closer than it's ever been to your purpose. Except that money. Money. Do you used to do like financial things? Were you like in bookkeeping or some sort of financial piece?
No, that's interesting.
Have you steered away from talking or really claiming a bigger financial impact on your clients?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a financial ball over here that we're not talking about, or like, not gonna touch that is what I'm getting. It's like, so I was like, well, maybe she used to do financial stuff. No. So that piece is part of the puzzle of why you're the good business witch.
Okay.
So programs that you're creating right now are fine.
Okay.
Of course, we don't want just fine.
Right.
I mean, I would hope that's true, and I sense that's true for you. Yeah. So it's kind of like, that's fine. It's okay. Yeah. And you'll get just so far without adding that financial component in.
Okay.
The purpose piece, though, is going to take a little more digging for you from the perspective of where those two things marry, where they are truly aligned. You are still playing small, and that whatever the financial piece is, whether it's something that you already know and you have just been kind of holding off saying about what you do, or in general, just like, we don't talk about money. Like, money is just kind of this other little thing over there. That energy is pertinent and purposeful in your work, combining what your knowledge and that piece. The purpose behind all of it. Liberation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to say freedom, and she shook it off. No. Yeah. Liberation is like the core. And when I do the purpose work that I do with my clients, we kind of circle around to those three core values that represent our purpose. And I was like, taking you all the way down into you is that liberation. above all, beyond all, as all.
Yeah.
If you're not helping people, women, people. I love when she shakes me off. She's like, that's not what I said. Okay. People become liberated, you'll be dissatisfied. There's always going to be a piece of you that's not satisfied.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I just got little chills of affirmation on that one.
Yeah. So the money piece plays a role in the liberation, and your talents and gifts, they can marry. You'll need to do some work.
Sure.
Subtle, right? You'll need to do some work to I love when the oracle's being cheeky. You'll need to do some work to engage. I'm like, that's funny. Funny. Okay. To engage the process.
Okay.
How is this landing for you so far?
It is
for you through this.
It feels like the oracle is being purposely vague because she knows that I know.
Yeah, she does that. She likes to be really bratty sometimes. I'm like, yeah. And to your point though, and I have clients who could often attest that, like, why aren't you just telling me what she does? I'm like, I only can tell you what she tells me to tell you, and if I try not to do anything other than that, this first thing to go is tech. So I'm not playing with that today. Especially live. There's this vagueness, but there's this, she's pointing out things you know, but there's also a point of this just being affirmation of something you know, and a test to see that you're ready.
Yeah. No, I've been
definitely a push to like, okay, so we'll nudge you, but you're the only one that can do this.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So how much more nudging do you need, Megan?
Called out. I love it.
Like, bro, I mean, clearly she's not the first to nudge you. So she's like, well, how much more nudging do you need? Yeah. That's what's really coming through. Like this, the liberation piece just keeps coming back as like, that's what I refer to when I talk to people about their unique life purpose, which is the work that I do. What I talk about ultimately is when you really know what that is, it becomes the cornerstone to all things. It is the barometer. It is the, piece that we weigh and counterbalance other things to.
Yeah.
So to me, when she keeps pointing back to it, it's like, there are other pieces, some of which you already have in place for sure. And now that we've talked about the money piece, it's totally dissipated. The energy's gone. So that's already integrating.
Okay.
Like you're just accepting it as the truth was kind of like, okay, good. Like you got it now. You're powerful enough to make all of these changes yourself. And that's why the nudge with a little bit of sarcasm of like, well, okay. So I attune this to when I talk to people about using a pendulum work and things like that. And when they ask a question and then they go get their other deck of cards and they ask the same question and they go get the other, and the guys are like, really? Like, how many more times can we tell you the answer that you don't want to hear? Yeah. So there's this piece of this. It's like, you can keep asking this question and you can keep staying where you are, or you can just accept the answer you get that's coming through and act on it. No one else can make you act on it. Like nothing, even myself or any other guys or any other stack of oracle cards or any other divining tool is going to have you act on it. It will only keep showing you something that part of that maybe you don't want to see. What do you think you will lose? What do you think you will lose or have to let go of to accept the answer you keep getting?
I've been talking about I need to raise my prices for a couple of my current clients. And one of them, I'm not even worried about it at all. I know that she's going to accept it and just be totally fine. And the other one, I'm anticipating a fight with the financial officer that's involved in the company. And he can be kind of difficult when it comes to money. And I realize this, and there's like a scarcity mindset around that. And so I think I am afraid of like damaging that relationship, or, making things more difficult over there than they need to be, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Except that that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so okay. And the thing that's thank you. I'm gonna just pause and thank you for accepting that little extra nudge, because we didn't talk about that, but it was like right, and the elephant in the room. Okay. Is there a question behind that question? Not this one that we're talking about now, but I'm going to ask this in a weird question.
That's fine.
Do you believe you have to do you differently if you accept that these things are going to change? Like, is this internal setting down of self that changes if you raise your rates?
I think it's an internal stepping up of self, if that makes sense. Like embodying more of who I am, not really discarding anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a step.
Abandoning somebody?
Yeah, a couple of my clients that are really good friends.
Okay. Okay. You always have permission to tell me you don't want to talk about this on screen, so feel free to do so. Okay. This next question is pretty potent, which is, if you really believe what you believed, then you wouldn't worry. So do you really believe that everybody is going to be okay?
Feels like a yes, but answer.
So the but is ego.
Yeah.
But is I'm going to help. If I don't help them, no one will. Yeah.
Yeah. That resonates.
The beauty of the work that we do is the double-bladed sword, right? We know that the people we know are meant to be served by the work that we do, get exactly what they need from whatever comes through us. And then we think, but what if they don't get it? And then they fail, or they struggle, or they suffer.
Yeah.
And then we have to remember that source is source is source. And no one is abandoned, really.
Yeah. Oh, that is really reassuring.
That
is really reassuring.
Yeah. The people that come to be helped by you, and people like me, or anyone really, bottom line, there are no accidents. There's no coincidence. There's no anything but the thing happening and moving through us as us. Yeah. And I often say, like life doesn't happen to us, it happens through us. And for those of us who are tapped into source, it can feel very potent and powerful, but it's no less potent and powerful than it is for anyone else. We just happen to be aware that it's happening.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can be comforted by knowing that whatever you've already given is enough. Is not just the enough, it's the enough. So she's saying, right? The enough. And I think that's a stretch. That's a place where your up-leveling is really going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not the money. I mean, that's a visceral thing. That's a tactile, practical thing. But it's the knowing that piece, the letting go of that last piece of what if. She said, reverence over responsibility.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I actually have a sticky note on my screen that says, "Is this really my responsibility?"
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I'm getting reverence for their work.
Mm-hmm. I was laughing. The work. It's no one's work, but the work's work. The work.
Nice.
Yeah. Because we never know, right? None of us who will benefit even from our own growth without it even ever knowing. I'm sure you've had that experience of people saying they saw something you did or said and were touched by it, and you had no inclination whatsoever that they even existed prior to that comment. And I think that's when I get to be reminded myself of like, oh, just show up, do the work. Yeah. Yeah. That's just the message she's leaving me with. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I am really blown away, actually. the enough and the work are two things that I really need. I'm going to sit down and ponder and really figure out what that means on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely part of that journey of purpose for you, I think, is uncovering what that entails and how you get to bring that forward. Because the work you're doing is good work.
Yeah.
Which is why I think she was kind of chuckling about, you're the good business witch.
Yes.
Good work. Good work what you're doing. So, I'm pleased that we got to share this time together. Any final thoughts before we sign off? And then we're going to just kind of let everyone know how they can join you in the hot seat at some point. But I'm curious for you, how this experience was for you, and if you'll kindly agree, and hopefully you will, to come back and tell us as you pondered this what it feels like, a few weeks, months from now, having taken away what you did. So what do you think you're taking away again today, and will you come back and share with us how it all works out?
So yes, I will absolutely come back and share. This has been so great. A couple of things that I'm definitely taking with me is I definitely want to reiterate what you were saying about, it's like we, as coaches, we need coaches, and as spiritual beings, we need other spiritual beings to interact with. So anyone who's listening that might be on the fence, give it a try. It's awesome. And then the other thing that I'm really struck, like the nail on the head for me, was the liberation aspect. And that's one of the things that has really come through in this new offering, is how much freedom and liberation there is in the process, and in my business and in other people's business and all that. So I think that's why it's the closest thing to my overall purpose. So I love that word.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to hear in a little while how things play out. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Again, I'm Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and this is Ask the Oracle. So if you've got a question that's been burning on your heart and you're not quite sure who to turn to, I welcome you to check out one of the links below or above to opt in, and apply to be a guest on our show. When you do, you too can get your seat next to the Oracle and ask that burning question and see what you can get to move forward in fulfilling your purpose. Again, I'm Leah Dunlap. I am the Oracle on Purpose. And remember, no matter what, you are here on purpose.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.